You know what Red Steel 1 and 2 have in common? A name. And they have a hot woman in it. The only similarity is you have a sword and guns. In Red Steel 1, guns are the focus and sword fights are an afterthought. Red Steel 2 is the opposite. The sword is the primary weapon thanks to the Wii MotionPlus add-on tracking your hand movements. The tracking isn't flawless. Sometimes it needs recalibrated, setting the remote face down like it needs to cool off. Often I hit myself with the nunchuck cord. Some would say not to swing it so hard, but I enjoy cutting down samurai, so I'll fall on my sword, or in this case, my cord. That's why in the settings I changed Wiimote swings to athletic. This lowers sensitivity, meaning you violently jerk the Wiimote, which sometimes doesn't work. The real way to play. Not really, I'm masochistic. The Wiimote responds better to regular mode, which I recommend playing on. But excluding the final boss, this makes Red Steel 2 far too easy, even on the hardest difficulty. It's a good workout for your arm if you put your back into it. When your arm starts feeling heavy, continue tomorrow. Red Steel 2 is meant to be played in short bursts. Sometimes there's a delay switching between motion controls for sword and the pointer for the gun due to the sensor bar. But the gun's useless against tough enemies, so who cares? Despite my complaints, I wouldn't trade the motion controls. They add to the experience because Red Steel 2's combat plays out like an on-rails light gun game, except you can move about. Enemies line up to be mown down. There's some cool guns to buy, but they're more for show. Red Steel 2's first hour plays like a long tutorial, which is a bit lame, though the woman's hot. There's lots of combos to learn to spice up combat, though swinging like a madman is most reliable. The final third, I unlocked backstep combos to rinse enemies, which made fights boring to be honest. It felt like inputting cheat codes, served with a side of regret. Remove that temptation from my sight. Game progression is linear. You can veer off doing the same old side missions for cash, but you don't need to. In Ubisoft fashion, even main missions are repetitive. Mostly kill X amount of the same baddies, open doors, activate towers of a yellow key. I don't know where he got that from. I think the tech girl gave it to him, I don't remember. Half of Red Steel 2 is waiting for doors to open. Is this to mask the Wii's loading times? Coincidentally, if the game length was cut from 8 to 4 hours, this could have been a classic like Titanfall 2. Remove backtracking, same locations, repetitive enemies, switches and doors. Then people would play more, rather than run out the door after they get sick of waiting for the game to load. There's also a few game-breaking bugs like Mr. Invincible, who I ran into a few times, or getting stuck in place because the game doesn't expect me to go back out of a door. God forbid. I remember in 2011, back in the good old days, the final boss was about to beat me, but I fell through the floor, he fell through the floor, I don't remember, and I won. That didn't happen this time, I had to fight him fair and square, but it would have been nice to have the footage. This does look like a common occurrence in Red Steel 2 in other areas, though again I never experienced them. There's 3 enemy classes who either slash, shoot, or they're big bulky bass drinkers. Fun fact, the 3 main baddies are leaders of these clans who I'll get to shortly. The cel-shaded art style holds up with the dull colour palette, suiting the western theme. Unfortunately, because of this, areas look similar. There's big empty spaces which are not nice to look at. That and the frequent copy and pasting of assets. And you're backtracking as well, so you're seeing the same old thing. Don't think I didn't notice. Gives me less reason to want to explore. Felt like playing the game in the second half was a chore. Environment objects are destructible, which is cool when enemies occasionally blow away your cover. What's not cool is these invisible walls soaking up my bullets. The story, music and acting is cliche, but it's fun. Your character hero is almost mute. Who's this guy from Fable? But he has drip, as the kids say. Looking at his support crew, the tech girl's boring. That cel-shaded cleavage doesn't sway me. Old Man Angry Joe is funny, though the only person of character development is the old monk, who looks like Bald Bull after he retired from boxing. He changes... Casper, shut up. His character develops as events transpire. I would have liked to play as the old geezer, but it wasn't in the cards. The first big baddie is Pain, who you see in the opening cutscene, and to be honest, he's the best villain. I think he should have just been the main guy. You kick him off a ledge at the first boss fight, he's presumed to be dead. I think they should have brought him back as the final villain, as a villain throughout the game, rather than the other guy who we'll get to later. Unfortunately, his actual boss fight, he's more bark than bite. He's Vass from Far Cry 3. Turns out he's the henchman from the man behind the curtain, Shinjiro, leader of the ninjas, who's a bitch. I like Shinjiro at the start where you build up to him and you have this awesome fight with him, but then you kick him off the ledge and he's saved by a ninja, and you know by that point the guy's a total bitch. Then after that, you're chasing after him, and there's multiple attempts of him trying to kill you from a distance, like blowing up a train or shooting at you with a machine gun. He's just a fucking coward. He even uses his goons as a shield to flee from you. Then he hires a mute samurai, I think his name is Okaji, I can't pronounce his name, the leader of the Katakara clan, who has no personality. He's just a brute covered in armor who you've fought before. He comes back from the dead, you slice him up and he comes back, but Pain doesn't come back. You don't see him splat to the ground, whatever, who cares. Finally, you corner Shinjiro at the end. The last level, he's given like a big monologue to you from the distance. I don't know how he's speaking to you. If there's like a big loudspeaker or he's telepathically speaking to you, I don't bloody know. His personality doesn't reflect his fighting prowess. Shinjiro is the only opponent I enjoy fighting against. He has this intimidating getup at the end. I don't know why it is, just to look cool, I guess. While his fight is cool, he's shooting at you with guns from a distance. You can't use guns against him, by the way, but he can use guns against you, and he's doing all these sword techniques against you. It's pretty cool, but his actual personality doesn't carry the presence of a final boss. He was more suited just for being a mid-game boss, and if he had just splatted to the ground, he would have been a great character. He just lasted too long. Also, if you were going to kill Pain at the start, leader of the Jackals, you should have just killed off the Jackals, because they're an absolute joke. It's like fighting children. In conclusion, I rate Red Steel 2 a 3 out of 5. Yet another pair of rose-tinted glasses smashed. It was great for the time, but isn't worth dusting off your old Wii for now. I'd say it's fun for a few hours after the first fight of Shinjiro. Just end the game there afterwards. Just imagine Shinjiro splattered to the ground. That's the game finished. By the way, what was up with that ending where the character stands and the sun makes it look like the Japanese flag? That was so cringe. Anyway, speaking of which, don't remake Red Steel 1 and 2. Just make a Red Steel 3. Take what was good about Red Steel 2 with the motion controls, improve on it. Get rid of all the repetitive rubbish in Red Steel 2 as well. No semi-combat and side quests, no opening doors, no pressing switches, no Ubisoft-isms. Simple linear, varied campaign. If you only have to make it a few hours long, so be it. I love the cel-shaded art style. Improve on that, make the guns more feasible rather than just shooting against long range enemies, and just make it more fun.
The game is fun. The game is a battle. If it's not fun, why bother? If it's not a battle, where's the fun?